Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to study the subscribe button, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, following our protagonist, we see Nariyuki Yuiga discuss his goal of striving for the VIP recommendation, allowing entrance to any university with all fees paid, especially with a dirt-poor background. Called to the headmaster, he informs Nariyuki that he'll most likely be selected. But he's told that he must tutor the two students. Introducing Fumino Furuhashi, genius at modern Japanese, ancient writing, Chinese classics and other literature subjects. Next is Rizu Ogata, a genius in math and physics. Curious as to why these two need tutoring, Nariyuki asks what universities they're trying to get into. Furuhashi, the literature genius, wants to pursue science and math university, and Ogata, the math genius, wants to pursue liberal arts university. Realizing the two want to pursue polar opposite subjects, compared to the subjects they excel at, Nariyuki tests both of them, to gauge where they're at. Not even a couple minutes later, Furuhashi and Ogata both concede, both having little to no knowledge of their subjects. Losing hope, Nariyuki recommends that the two should just pursue universities that house the subjects they re good at. Hearing this, the two storm off, realizing that Nariyuki is not willing to help them. That night Nariyuki feels bad. Taking a look at each of their notebooks, he's shocked to see the effort put in to create notes for their dream subjects. Touched, he works throughout the night. Greeting them the next day, he apologizes for not backing their dreams, and in exchange he's prepared study guides, tailored to their needs. Both touched by Nariyuki's guidance, they begin to study at the library. After a long session, Nariyuki walks Furuhashi home, promising her to support her dreams all the way. Heading alone to his house, the scene ends, as Nariyuki is greeted by his siblings, with his little sister jealous that Nariyuki may have been in contact with other females. With the headmaster learning that Furuhashi and Ogata have been steadily improving, she asks to tutor Urika Takimoto, a childhood friend. Visiting, Takimoto flees from Nariyuki, only for Nariyuki to slip. Having saved his life, Nariyuki takes the chance to pin her down. Just then, Furuhashi and Ogata walk. Misunderstanding the situation, the two call out to Nariyuki. Seeing Nariyuki with two gorgeous girls, Takimoto gets jealous, agreeing to be tutored. That evening, Ogata studies at Nariyuki's place, gifting him with family-made soba noodles. Hearing Nariyuki is alone with Ogata, Takimoto rushes over. Just then the lights go out, forcing Ogata closer to Nariyuki, as she's scared of the dark. Jealous, Takimoto also tries to get close to Nariyuki. With it being too dark, Nariyuki accidentally touches things, creeping the two out. The next day, starting Takimoto's tutoring, the four head to a cafe. Testing Takimoto in multiple subjects, Nariyuki realizes that she's hopeless with everything except sports. Testing a theory, Nariyuki mixes learning with her swimming, yielding improvements in her grades. Heading home, Takimoto thanks Nariyuki. With an upcoming exam period coming up, the headmaster along with the girl's previous tutor demand Nariyuki have Furuhashi and Ogata surpass the average, else Nariyuki will be relieved of his position as their tutor. Overhearing this, Furuhashi and Ogata begin to work hard. Visiting Ogata's dad's soba restaurant, her dad threatens Nariyuki to not make any advances on her sweet princess, only for Ogata to shoo him away. With their study session coming to an end, Ogata asks what happens if she underperforms, only for Nariyuki to reply that he'll continue to support. Having passed, Ogata checks on Furuhashi, shocked that she has become ill. Sitting the makeup exam the next day, Furuhashi invites Takimoto and Nariyuki over to help her revise. Visiting Furuhashi's home, Nariyuki accidentally stumbles in on Furuhashi nude. Lectured, he is able to revise with Furuhashi, without waking Takimoto. The next day, with both girls finishing their exams, the headmaster is amazed to see both their marks exceed the average. Happy to keep his job, Nariyuki and Takimoto spend time together. With Takimoto being egged on by her friends to confess, she ultimately runs away before being able to confess. Having put on weight, we see Furuhashi's performance when studying plummet. Attempting to feed her sweets, Furuhashi forces herself to reject Nariyuki's gifts. In the end, Nariyuki realizes that she's been eating late-night snacks, explaining her reason for gaining weight. Next we see a classmate of Ogata, Sawako Sakiyo, accusing Ogata of leaving the chemistry club because of Nariyuki. Sitting in on one of their study sessions, Sakiyo attempts to get Nariyuki to confess his reasons for tutoring Ogata. Bombarding him with questions, Sakiyo inches closer to Nariyuki only for Nariyuki to think that Sakiyo loves him. Both kicked out for making too much noise. While Ogata is studying, Nariyuki explains that he is Ogata's tutor whilst also realizing that Sakiyo wants to be Ogata's friend. Interrupted, Ogata is congratulated by Nariyuki, blushing for being praised. The next day, Takamo is playing sports, only to accidentally have forgotten her bra. Nervous to face Nariyuki one-on-one, she eventually gets fired up, bumping into Nariyuki, revealing to him that she is braless. Heading on a school trip, Ogata begins to develop feelings for Nariyuki. When he begins to speak to her, she walks away from him, wandering deep into a nearby forest, getting lost. Searching for her, he is able to track her, due to the trail she left behind. Offering to escort her back, Ogata slips, sharing a kiss with Nariyuki. As punishment for wandering off into the forest, the two are forced to clean the bathhouse. Just then girls begin piling in. With Nariyuki hiding in the steam room, Ogata buys time from him. Reaching his limit, Ogata is able to convince the girls to finish up. Rushing to leave, Nariyuki runs into Takimoto. With his life flashing before his eyes, Takimoto ignores him, thinking that he was just a figment of her imagination. The scene ends with Ogata and Nariyuki making up, thanking him for coming to save her. Hearing of the incident between Ogata and Nariyuki, Mafuyu Kirisu questions if Nariyuki should remain a tutor. Just then, Nariyuki realizes that no one but Ogata should have known they've kissed. Pressing, he finds out that Kirisu-sensei isn't as bad as she seems, having gone to look for Ogata herself, but she has problems expressing her emotions. Letting him off for now, Kirisu is happy to see the girls grow. That evening, Takimoto and Nariyuki visit a shrine. Trapped under rain, the two wait. As Takimoto lies down and closes her eyes, she begins to feel licks across her body. Having dirty thoughts, she realizes that the licks are from stray cats. Heading home, Takimoto and Nariyuki share a moment. Speaking to Furuhashi, Nariyuki asks Furuhashi why the two girls can't seem to focus during their studying session. Oblivious to himself being the cause, Furuhashi trips, falling into Nariyuki's arms. Witnessing this, Ogata is flustered, whilst Furuhashi assures her it's nothing. Heading home, Nariyuki stumbles upon a cat in a tree. Climbing the tree, the cat jumps, only for Kirisu-sensei to break its fall. Accidentally she sprains her ankle, leading to Nariyuki walking her to her apartment. Upon helping her clean, Kirisu reveals her past history of being a figure skater. Additionally, her mentality of following what you're good at and giving up on your dreams are what caused her to give up on future skating and instead teach students. The next day, there were rumors of Furuhashi dating, as the two are constantly spending time together. That evening, Nariyuki stumbles onto Takimoto, blacking out. Taking her to the infirmary, he begins to feel bad for her, especially because she's training hard for an upcoming tournament and studying. Just then a bunch of girls enter the room, forcing him to hide under the bed. As a change of pace, he takes her out to eat. Admiring her beauty, whilst eating. Before parting ways, she confesses her love to him, only to play it off as a joke. That weekend, Nariyuki just so happens to walk by Kirisu-sensei. Stopping him, she requests he help her eliminate an insect in her apartment. Losing sight of it, Kirisu begs for Nariyuki to stay. Giving pointers to Nariyuki, the two take a break from studying, ordering noodles. Answering the door, Nariyuki is surprised to see Ogata. Flustered to see Nariyuki, Ogata questions him about being alone with Kirisu-sensei. Refusing to leave, Kirisu and Ogata play a card game. Having defeated Ogata several times, Kirisu takes a break, heading to the kitchen. Just then she screams, notifying Nariyuki that she has spotted the insect, only for Ogata to kill it. No longer needed, Ogata and Nariyuki walk home together. With summer starting, Nariyuki makes the most out of it by enrolling into summer school, which is fully paid by his school. Mistaking a fellow student, Asumi Kominami, for a lost kid, he realizes that Asumi is his senior by a year, having failed the entrance exam once. Finishing the day off, the two part ways. As it's his first time in the area, Nariyuki is learning that she works part-time to pay for summer school. Nariyuki peeps at her past exam results. Noticing that she is embarrassed about her results, he immediately begins giving her pointers. Returning the next, to continue to tutor her, Nariyuki heads home, bumping into a doctor. Apologizing, the doctor remarks that his daughter is attending the same school as him, only for Asami to call his name. Questioning Asami, the doctor's daughter, for being in the maid outfit, Nariyuki is inclined to cover for her. Explaining that he's her boyfriend and it's his kink, the doctor accepts him as his son-in-law. Thanking Nariyuki to cover for her, Asami agrees to meet up with the other girls Nariyuki is tutoring. Realizing they should be studying as well, the three girls start summer school, but all in different classes. With the day ending, it begins to rain, forcing the five of them to stay at Asami's place whilst they dry off. Helping out Asami, Furuhashi finds out that Asami and Nariyuki are dating. Having a word with Nariyuki, Furuhashi is forced to use violence when he refuses to spill the beans. Realizing Furuhashi is interrogating her junior, Asami teases Furuhashi. One night whilst heading home, Kirisu notices Nariyuki hanging outside a maid cafe. Confronting him, they're interrupted by Asami, greeting Kirisu as her old teacher. Worried about Nariyuki spending too much time in a maid cafe, Kirisu attempts to leave with Nariyuki, only for her to accidentally injure another worker. Guilty, she fills the injured maid's role. Attempting to clean, she accidentally slips, giving the customers some fanservice. Wrapping up the day, Kirisu realizes that Nariyuki is tutoring Asami, so it's okay for Nariyuki to spend time here. The next day, with no work attire, Kirisu beginning to be questioned by a police officer for her weird dress code, Nariyuki is able to vouch for her being a drama teacher. Grateful, she gives Nariyuki a ride to school. Having obtained the materials she wanted, Nariyuki helps walk her to her car, only to realize the fuel is empty. Walking home together, the two share a moment. Suddenly realizing that Furuhashi and Ogata are heading their way, the two hide behind a bush. Making noise, the two are forced to embrace, scaring off Furuhashi and Ogata. With Takimoto's final swim tournament arriving, Nariyuki watches her. Losing because of technicality, Nariyuki tries to cheer her up, visiting their old school. Thanking Nariyuki for encouraging her all this time, Nariyuki asks her about the guy she likes. Seeing that she's clearly shy, he offers to be her training partner, so she can practice confessing. Taking the offer, she confesses with all her heart, only for Nariyuki to critique her confession. Annoyed, she pushes him in, only for him to pull her in as well. The scene ends with Nariyuki agreeing to call Takimoto by her first name, Uraka. Attending a festival, Nariyuki runs into Furuhashi and Uraka. Complementing their yukatas, Furuhashi is able to get Nariyuki alone with Furuhashi. Flustered, the both head to Ogata's father's store. Since they're busy, the two decide to help out. With Uraka helping with the cooking, Ogata and Nariyuki deliver orders. Sharing some food, Ogata heads back to the store, leaving our protagonist. Witnessing an amazing arcades player, Nariyuki instantly realizes it's Kirisu-sensei. Attempting to run, she injures herself, leading Nariyuki to help her to the first aid section. Greeting Asami and her father, Nariyuki patches Kirisu up. Helping Asami and her father a little more, Asami teases Nariyuki before he heads home. Having missed the last train, he heads to a local hotel, running into Furuhashi, who has also lost track of time. Spending the night in one room, Furuhashi shares stories about her mother and her love for the constellation. Thanks for watching.